Hello and welcome. So excited to have you here. Give me just a moment as I invite Joanne in to join us today. I am so excited for you to be here. I am really excited for you to meet Joanne. She is such a wonderful and joyful person. She is someone who is so full of heart, someone who is transparent, and her advocacy work really brings that through. So here we go. I'm starting to see her and she's here. And sideways. Hello, my friend. How are you? We're going to see if we can join her. Okay. Hello.
I hear you.
Hey!
Can you see me though?
I can perfectly.
Oh, okay. Good. Because I don't see myself.
That's okay.
All right.
That's okay. We'll cope with that.
I'm so
You know what the
sorry.
beautiful part is?
Thank you for your patience.
No, there's no patience. For those of you who are hopping in the edited version, we've had this lovely moment where I can hear Joanne and everyone else can hear Joanne and Joanne can't hear me. And it's been fun. So we finally got our tech sorted. Thank you for your patience, everybody. Thank you for all the lovely comments with text suggestions. It's like super helpful. I love community. They're so kind. So it's all good. We're here. You're here. So Joanne, I am so excited to have you here. And my favorite thing is, I was telling everyone that you are such a kind and loving person. And it really comes through in your advocacy. And here you are. It's like right behind your head. Like, be anything, be kind. If you can be anything, be kind, which I know is sort of your life philosophy. And so today we didn't prescript anything. I have a timer because I knew you and I can talk for ages because I love talking to you. So I'm going to keep an eye on the time for us. But I want to start off by asking a little bit about some of the things that you are an advocate for and what it means. So let's start off with Williams syndrome because this month is Williams syndrome Awareness Month.
It is. So what is Williams syndrome?
Yeah.
It's a rare genetic condition. It results from a spontaneous deletion of about 26 to 28 genes on chromosome 7. It occurs in about 1 in 10,000 births in all genders in all countries around the world. So very few people know about it because it is very rare. And it's characterized by all kinds of health conditions like cardiovascular disease, developmental delays, difficulty with visual processing, learning disabilities, a lot of challenges with organs. But people with Williams also have no stranger danger, which does obviously pose a lot of challenges, but also they have a very unique ability to spread joy and love. Challenge perceptions. They have so much courage. And so a lot of people see differences. I call them superpowers. That's it in a nutshell.
I love that. Okay. And why are you an advocate around awareness for Williams syndrome?
So I have twin boys who are 6.5, and one of them, because they're fraternal, has Williams syndrome.
Okay. So that's one area of advocacy. We're going to get a little bit more into that. What else are you an advocate for, my friend?
For ovarian cancer, and May 8th last week was actually World Ovarian Cancer Day. So I do a lot of advocacy for that because it's very little known. And when you hear ovarian cancer, you think older menopausal women. You don't realize it affects a lot of younger women. So when you're younger and you go see a doctor, you could go with a lot of symptoms and they're easily dismissed because they just sound like random, like you're bloated and you have irregular periods, and they dismiss it because you're not considered high risk. So it's very important to bring advocacy to that, because if they catch it early in phase 1, you have an 80% chance of survival in 5 years. But if you catch it in phase 3 or 4, that 80% falls to like 10 to 30%. So it's really important that people find it in phase 1. But the problem is the majority of people, like 80% of people, only get a late diagnosis. So the outcomes are very different.
Oh my goodness. I know you advocate for more than that. What else, my friend?
Honestly, it's not just things. It's a belief system. It's the way I operate. I've always been that way. I've always been a social justice advocate. I'm a huge believer in advocating, and it's everybody's job. And we could all do it. We all know our communities well. And I think it's the most powerful tool to drive change.
Totally agree. Okay, can you give us a couple of concrete examples of what advocacy is? And the reason why I ask this is it's a word that gets put out there so often, right? It's a word that's being used now in corporate settings, right, to be an advocate. It's a word that's used often in social media, we're seeing, around advocacy. I hear it often in the healthcare system, which is how I first got introduced to the concept. Been an advocate and didn't know I was, but the work that I do with an organization called Optimus, we're raising awareness and funds to help women who are social economic status, to raise their social economic status through education, and they're the head of their household. So that's a huge place for me around education, financing education, and mentorship. And I didn't think of myself as an advocate really until you and I started having these conversations. And then for me, becoming a health coach was part of my own advocacy, because I had the bloating and the pain and all these things going on, and I was dismissed. I remember my doctor just looking at me saying, "Oh, you're bloated." I'm like, I am in so much pain, and that's all you have to say. And so I started learning more so that I could ask better questions and find out what was really going on and how to help myself. So that was sort of my internalization of it. But tell me about what the word advocacy means, and can you tell us a bit about what you do in your day-to-day that really shows up in your work?
Advocacy to me is action. It's not just talking. It's action. So I think that's the most important thing. A lot of people think that who am I to be an advocate, but it's everybody. We all know our communities well. So what needs changes? And it could be little things like purchasing decisions. Like, do you buy from companies that their values are aligned with yours? Huge. Yeah. Huge.
You know what this is.
Oh yeah. Has actually grown
100% it is. And my glam jewels from Monica Graves. She's one of my favorite jewelers here locally.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Nice.
Okay, so purchasing power, that's a huge one.
That's one of the biggest ones that people don't even realize. And it's so basic because it's in every day, right? So anything, it could be in your kid's school, it could be local politics. Obviously voting is one of the biggest things. Using your voice, adding your voice to the conversations, and everyday things.
Okay, tell us a little bit about some of the stuff that you've done, because I know you've done some incredible things. And you never talk about it, so talk about it.
You're really putting me on the spot. You didn't even prep me.
I know. It was on purpose. If I talked to you, I knew you'd overthink. I know, I love you.
You know me so well. So for ovarian cancer, I was one of the lucky ones. I was diagnosed in phase 1. And I owe my life to my doctor, Dr. Lucy Gilbert. She is a phenomenal woman. And she listened to me. The first few doctors I saw dismissed me because I wasn't considered high risk, because I was young at the time. I was 38 when I was diagnosed. She is the first person in the world to develop an early diagnosis test, because right now the outcomes of ovarian cancer haven't changed in 50 years. So if you think about how much a smartphone has evolved in the last 5 years alone, to think about 50 years for women's healthcare is just not acceptable. So she has developed the world's first early diagnosis test, and it's basically like an advanced pap test, and she wants to make it standard care. That's her big audacious goal. So she's developed a test, and it's in clinical trial right now in our backyard right here at the MUHC in Montreal. And I am the co-chair of her capital campaign. So we're raising $6 million to get through the clinical trial and bring it to market. So we're at the tail end of it. We have just a little over 2 million left to raise. So we're really excited because this is going to be called, I keep calling it the Gilbert test because, you know, the PAP test was named after Dr. a big long Greek name that starts with PAP. So we're very excited about that.
Oh, okay, first, congratulations, because that means you've raised almost $4 million.
That's right. That's right. Not just me. There's a whole team of us. But thank you. We are so, so excited because it's going to change the outcome, not just here in Canada, but for women across the world.
And it's part of your voice. So it's not just fundraising, because that's a part of it. It's a part of the work that I do for Optimus as well. Funding makes a difference. Purchasing, fundraising, these things do make a difference because then that's part of the resources to take action. But of that action, what are some of the things that you've done? I saw you in, was it fashion? Am I right?
Oh, I did.
Fashion gallery.
I did a fashion show. Yeah, there was a fashion show that the Lyceum of Greek Women of Montreal organized with designers from Greece. There was 18 designers that were showcased, and then there was a walk at the end of 5 of us, cancer survivors. So it was very powerful, very moving, and we raised over 40,000 that one night a couple of weeks ago. So we were really excited about that, and that's all going to my doctor's test, the Dovey gene, and Dovey stands for detecting ovarian and endometrial cancers early.
Oh, that's awesome. And there's more though. You've also done work in terms of educating, is it the board of the hospital and being part of their marketing campaigns?
Yes. Actually, the picture in my profile, you see one of the campaigns. So I have been on billboards. I am on if you're in Montreal and you take the Vendôme Metro and you go underground the tunnel to get into the hospital, there's a big poster and I'm actually on it. I should bring my boys to go see it. But yes, so I am the face of the campaign, of the Dream Big campaign.
Amazing.
And my big dream is that no woman's potential or life be cut short by the silent killer. The silent killer being ovarian cancer.
Say that one more time. It's really powerful.
That what, sorry?
Say it one more time. It's really powerful. Say it one more time.
That my big dream is that no woman's potential or life be cut short by the silent killer. So that's why we're raising the $6 million.
It's amazing.
It really is.
And that is not all the advocacy work that you do. So also putting into action, what are the things that you do to support and raise funds for Williams syndrome?
So, well, this is new to us because we didn't get a diagnosis right away. We always knew something was different. Like all throughout my pregnancy, Lucas was smaller than Nicholas. But they always said it's typical for twins to be developing at different rates. So we didn't think too much of it. He was born smaller, he had difficulty eating. He was delayed in reaching milestones. We saw so many doctors. Nobody said anything because, again, it's rare. It's 1 in 10,000. And that's why it's so important we talk about it, because actually just 1 in every 30 doctors, 1 in 30 doctors actually haven't met a person with Williams syndrome. So they don't know about it. They don't know what the symptoms are. They don't know what to look for. And it's really important to get an early diagnosis because, well, for Lucas, his congenital heart disease is mild, but a lot of people, it's very severe and you're going to need open heart surgery. And if you're not looking for the right symptoms, you're not going to diagnose it. So there could be really tragic outcomes. So that's why it's really important that we talk about it.
Wow. Okay. That's really significant. And you and your spouse took action on that too. What does that look like?
So, well, we found out the week before the pandemic hit, when the boys were just exactly 3.5 years old, that they suspected that Lucas had Williams syndrome, but it took us another year to get the diagnosis. But as soon as we heard the word and we Googled it, we knew right away, like without a doubt, like he has it. And things were challenging during the pandemic. But one of these things we did do was, one of the things he has a hard time with his motor skills, both the fine and the gross motor skills. And so he still can't write. He has a hard time holding a pen. So we do a lot of things with like Play-Doh and quicksand. And one of the things he loved doing, he loves working on an angle and painting. So we would do some painting. And then my husband really loves woodworking. And we would start like designing little things, and we would try to get him to paint. So we started Cedar Lake Twins, which is started off as small grassroots, Cedar being the name of the street we live on. There's a lake down the street and we have twins. So that's how we came up with the name. And then we started doing, just talking about it, and people loved what we were doing and wanted to buy some of the things we were making. So my husband took it to the next level and started making like these really beautiful charcuterie boards. And everything, or most of the things, have like a heart in them. Because of as a nod to the Rig personalities, the really loving personalities, but also because of the congenital heart disease. So we have like heart-shaped charcuterie boards and wooden spoons with hearts in them. And there's a lot of hearts in our work. But it's all locally made with eco-friendly paint. Everything is food grade, and whatever you're going to use is friendly in your home.
Oh, I love it. The charcuterie boards are beautiful. You've done Christmas decorations.
Mm-hmm.
You've done, is there a ladder for blankets?
We do. We have blanket ladders. It's true. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, and the letters.
We have personalized letter names. I wish I had some with me now. But no, I don't have them right here. But yeah, we'll take the initial, like we'll do a big capital B, and then we'll write like Brooke on it. And they're really unique, and I think they're really beautiful.
They are really beautiful.
Yes, for everybody, for children, for your display case in the kitchen, in your room, in your library, anywhere.
The thing that I love about them is it is not just about raising funds and awareness, but there's another whole element behind that. Because again, fundraising is a component, right? Having the financial resources to do some of the work. And then, but it's a whole family affair. I know you're on Instagram, your spouse is in the woodworking shop, you've got your little one helping with painting, as part of his therapy and practice, right? And helping him build his skills. It warms my heart so much.
Thank you.
And that's not all. So tell me a little bit about your passion for B Corp, stands for beneficial corporations. And since the time that I met you, this has been a conversation that you and I have had on what it is and why it makes a difference.
Okay, so when I was in university back in the day, well, ever since I was little, I always wanted to work for a company that was good for the community. So I had a huge passion for Ben & Jerry's, and back in the day when I was at Concordia, for those who know Concordia University of Montreal, Ben & Jerry's is across the street. So I used to use that as my library, especially in February when nobody is there. And I would talk to the owner, and little did I know that the owner he had the franchise rights for Canada. And I would be like, I'm going to finish my degree, and then I'm going to go work for Ben & Jerry's in the States. And I am going to be head of their marketing. And I just love that you use business for a force for good, because everything they do was about supporting local communities and the people. And it wasn't just about profits. It was considering all stakeholders. So this was a long time ago. And then like maybe 10, 15 years later, people started talking about B Corp. And Ben & Jerry's was one of the founders of that. And other companies that do that are Patagonia, Cotopaxi, Danone Yogurt. There's a lot of really big companies that have that designation too. And it started off as a grassroots movement, and now it's around the world. There's over 450 companies that have that certification here in Canada. And there's a lot of things to take into consideration, but it's kind of like what a LEED certification is to a building. That's what B Corp is to businesses. So really using business as a force for good in the community.
I also love that it's been making its way into the legal system. So you can actually set up your incorporation documents to be a B Corp. So it's a type of incorporation.
Exactly.
And then separately, there's the certification. What I love the most is, as with all certifications, there's an audit that goes along with it, and there's a cost to the audit, and so there's a cost to maintain the certification. But with B Corp, it's so core to what they do that there's this whole concept of being B Corp-ish.
Yes. so that you're similar to that. You haven't gone through the actual certification yet, but you abide by its values. But if I may for a second, what's really great about the certification, it's not a one and done. And that's it for life. You have to recertify every 3 years. So they make sure they go through that very lengthy auditing process to make sure that you always abide in every part of your business and operations to that certification.
I really love that. Where you and I work, I actually didn't know they were a B Corp. I was looking for an organization that did more than just write a check or have like a community garbage pickup day, nod to some of the consulting firms out there. And it's great that they do that. Please don't get me wrong. Funding is important. You know, a day in the community is important, but I wanted something that was more integrated than that. And that's actually how I learned about B Corp. I hadn't heard of it before. And the idea of being B Corp-ish for me really recognizes that it is a cycle, it is part of a philosophy. And so it's something that can take a while to get there. So it's honoring that it's a journey, but it's also a lifetime journey.
Exactly, 100%. And I didn't know that about you, that attracted you to BDC. So that makes me so happy.
It did, but I didn't know it had a name. I just knew that all of the policies were, some of the things that they stood by were actually embedded in policy. So that was one of the reasons that it really attracted to me. And you do even more than that, my friend. You do, I know, I see you smiling, but I want to celebrate you because it's amazing. And I don't think people really realize how, you know, okay, so there's people who are going to be listening to this, is like, she works on top of all of this, like, whoa, and you've got twins, 6.5-year-old twins, like, where do you find the time? But that's just it. It's not just about making the time. This is part of your everyday choices, and it's part of your ethos of what you bring to what you do.
Exactly.
So it's
just a way of life. It's my belief system. It's core to me.
And it's in every action that you take. So, you know, in negotiations, in the promotions, you know, I love your Friday posts. You always post a beautiful picture. Now, this month is different because it is Williams Syndrome Advocacy Month. And so you've been posting just really helpful information about what it is and why it is and what you can do about it. But I also love that you have your Friday celebration. Tell us a little bit about that, because that's part of it too, right? You said bring your voice, and it's
Exactly.
about elevating others. So what does that look like for you?
So on Fridays on my personal page, so Joanne D, Photiades, there I do my Friday favorites. What was important to me this week? What am I reading? What new reports have come out that resonate with me that I'd love to share with my community? Did you know? And I love showcasing people's pages. There's some pages I love. I love your page, for example. I really love the Code Switch. Everything she ever posts is just like these awesome nuggets of information. And then I always put a quote that I'm pondering. I always come across these amazing quotes. I love reading quotes, and I just put one of the week. Sometimes they're a little cheeky. Sometimes they're more thought-provoking. And so that's my personal page. And on our Cedar Lake Twins page, I've been posting every day this month because it is Williams Syndrome Awareness Month. So I'm writing a post a day on something different about Williams Syndrome. Part of it is about the disability. There's more posts to come about the relationships in our family as well, how it works for Nicholas, having a brother with a disability, and just the challenges. I've gotten a lot of great feedback on that. Some people think my outlook might be a little too positive and I'm not focusing on the seriousness of the disability, but that's just the way I look at it. I focus on the good, and as for challenges, yes, I'm not minimizing them. There's so many, but just take them all in one day at a time. We can't control what's going to happen. So
I actually feel it's a part of resiliency to be able to bring the good. It's not that you're dismissing the bad. You're living with everything that's happening, but it's the outlook that you bring to it. Well, this is happening anyways. How do I make the most out of this? Or how do I make the best out of whatever situation that I'm in? So it's in some ways, it's not being, I don't see it as an outsider who knows you as being overly optimistic, in my own opinion. What I do see is that you bring a positive outlook to the situation, but I also recognize that's part of your resilience, your base of resilience, if that makes sense.
I think so. I've learned life has definitely thrown a lot of curveballs, and it's all about, I hate saying pivot because I think it's so overused, but it also makes me laugh because I always have that like French scene with the couch, pivot, pivot in my head. It just makes me laugh. So I like using it. But yeah, it's, life is about how you play the cards you're given. I'm a huge believer in that. So I'm not going to sit here and imagine what if and poor me and why. It's all right, this is the card we're given. Let's make the best of it and take it from there.
Oh, the other piece, because you do so much, my friend, is, and I talk about resilience because I feel like that's part of the mental health piece. And I know you had a hand in a recent report that came out. And one of my interpretations to it is how many people use the phrase, I'm fine, it's fine, I'm fine, right? And it's not that they're fine. Sometimes they're really not fine, but that actually is the mantra that's the base of support for their resilience. And to say I'm not fine it means that so much, you think of the house of cards, to say I'm not fine is pulling one of the base cards out. And so, asking someone, how are you? I have actually stopped doing that. It's either, how are you with this situation? Like, how are you feeling about something specific? But I no longer ask, how are you? Because it's an unfair question.
I'm smiling because I actually wrote this big long post yesterday for Mother's Day dedicated to mamas of children with disabilities and talking about the I'm fine. And I actually just deleted the whole thing. I'm like, you know what? I'm just so grateful and blessed that I actually am a mom, because it's a privilege denied to so many and I don't take it lightly. So I just said, I just love being your mommy, and happy Mother's Day to everybody. All the moms and mom figures out there. So it's interesting you mentioned that, but absolutely. A lot of people don't understand mental health. There's a lot of challenges that come with it. And one of them definitely is people just saying, I'm fine. And when we think of some people like Kate Spade and, oh my goodness, what's his name? Mrs. Doubtfire, William
Robbins.
William Robbins. They both lost their life to suicide. Anthony Bourdain, like the list will go on and on and on about people who were known to be fine and outgoing and happy, but that was their surface and they weren't fine. They were anything but fine. So it's really important that we break down these stigmas and talk about it so people could access help.
Robin Williams.
That's it. Not Williams, Robin.
It's okay, we were close.
Teamwork.
Unscripted. This is unscripted. Like, no, that doesn't sound right, but I know who you mean. Now I have a picture of Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just it. Comedy, right? Leaning into comedy as part of the shield.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Leading into I'm fine as part of the shield. And so mental health is another place of advocacy for you.
Yes, I am leading the initiative to bring support to entrepreneurs across Canada, because entrepreneurs do have a higher incidence of challenges with mental health than the general population. So we do have a website on the BDC website. We do have a little micro page dedicated to comprehensive resources, preventative measures and wellness measures, and all the services that are free, all the ICBT services that are free across the country right now, whether they're local or national, but they're all listed on that page.
Amazing.
And
I'll make sure to drop that.
More that's going to be coming out soon. So stay tuned.
Awesome. I'll make sure to drop that in the comments afterwards for sure. I really appreciate you taking time over the lunch to hang out with me and to give me a chance to celebrate you, because oftentimes advocacy work is part of the day-to-day. It's small micro decisions that we make. It's the attitude that we bring. It is the care that we put towards others who may not have a voice, may not feel comfortable using their voice. I've had friends come up to me and women come up to me to say, I love what you do. I could never do what you do. And to honor that as well, that it's not necessarily a place of comfort for everyone. But I particularly want to thank you, Joanne, for being so specific in the examples of the different ways that you've demonstrated advocacy, because I think it's a very loaded word and one that people can feel comes with a lot of accountability or responsibility, but it doesn't have to be. It can be the small micro decisions. It can be the approach that you take, the words you choose, and just the way that you communicate and support others and amplify or share what others are doing.
Thank you so much. That's so thoughtful. And thank you for bringing it all together. I really appreciate that.
You are so welcome, my friend. I'm so happy to be able to celebrate you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So you've been listening to Best for Women Live with my guest, Joanne Photiades. Come and visit her at the Cedar Lake Twins. We'll make sure that all of that is in the notes below. And I hope you have an absolutely wonderful rest of your week. Thank you again.
And you, thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.